Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Boysel and this is my Leadership Models video presentation. This slide is the introduction to leadership models. So what is a leadership model? A leadership model is a theoretical framework for how best to manage employees. It typically suggests a corresponding response style to employee and organizational needs that has proven useful in that model. There are several different types of leadership models, and a few of them are DCL, or also known as Dynamic Culture Leadership Model and Organizational Culture, Transformational Leadership, and the Bullmans and Deals Reframing Leadership and Management and Organizations Model. Two contemporary leadership models. The two contemporary leadership models that I chose to talk about are Transformational Leadership Model and the Dynamic Culture Leadership Model. I will also discuss in this presentation the characteristics of each model, as well as the similarities and differences between the two, and will explain why one of these leadership models is a better fit for use in healthcare organizations. This next slide is the Transformational Leadership Model. The characteristics of Transformational Leadership Model include openness to new thinking, broadening minds, active listening, willingness to accept responsibility, puts trust into team members, and inspires participation. A little more about each of these characteristics are: for openness to new thinking, transformational leaders are constantly looking for opportunities to do things differently and are always open for new ideas. When it comes to broadening minds, transformational leadership often involves shifting employees' views on how things should work and how they should be thinking. For active listening, transformational leaders hear the ideas with an open mind and respond without any judgment. They show active listening techniques so their employees feel seen and understood. As for willingness to accept responsibility, transformational leaders take responsibility for their decisions as well as their employees' ideas. As for putting trust into the team members, a transformational leader understands this and trusts their team members to define their own steps to succeeding. And lastly, inspiring participation. The transformational leader expects creativity from employees or from everyone and strives for the participation of their team members to provide helpful information when it comes to any changes being made at that organization. Now on to the 4 I's of transformational leadership: intellectual stimulation, individual consideration, inspirational motivation, and idealized influence. For intellectual stimulation, this encourages innovative thinking by emphasizing new experiences and growth opportunities. Individual consideration builds positive relationships by mentoring employees and helping each person understand their value and potential. For inspiration motivation, this models a vision for the organization, the team, and for employees to emulate and make their own. And lastly, idealized influence models expectations and actions for their employees, earning their trust and respect. This next slide is the Dynamic Culture Leadership Model. The characteristics of the DCL model include vision, passion, empathy, optimism, cultural competence, and services although there are many other characteristics not listed. The dynamic culture leadership model puts emphasis on the relationship between leadership versus management and art versus science. So for vision, a dynamic leader has a clear vision of where they want to go and how they will get there. They understand where they currently are and are crystal clear on what it will take to get where they want to be. As for passion, dynamic leaders know that people are looking for passion in their leaders. Empathy is a dynamic leader can recognize and respond to the emotions of others. Practicing empathy makes it easier to gain the support of those in charge. And optimism. Dynamic leaders work to keep the team focused on long-term visions and how great it will be when they would get there, even when it's tough going in the short term. Cultural competence. Dynamic leaders do not focus on the culture an employee expressed, but rather focuses on the work that is being completed. And the last one was service. And the best leaders are those who serve others. They seek to serve their team and make it effective as possible. Similarities of the two leadership models: transformational leadership and dynamic culture leadership. Both of these models involve strategic planning. They both show effective communication skills, as they both improve and encourage communication between all staff and their leaders. Both models have effective decision-making skills, so they are both able to effectively make decisions between all team members and reach the goal they may have had. And lastly, both models demonstrate active listening. Listening to what their employees have to say is very crucial and important in both transformational leadership and dynamic culture leadership. Now on to the differences between the two leadership models: transformational leadership and dynamic culture leadership. The first difference between the two leadership models is dynamic leadership is more focused in the cultural aspects of the organization and the variety within the different areas of an organization. Dynamic culture leadership focuses on the cultural competence of the organization and wants to be sure that anyone working for the organization does not discriminate against the cultural differences of staff or their employees. Now, for transformational leadership, this focuses on reaching a goal for the team to meet, but does not think of the cultural aspect of those goals. And lastly, transformational leadership is based on or focused on the 4 I's. And dynamic cultural leadership emphasizes on the relationship between leadership versus management and art versus science. This next slide is transformational leadership. Best fit for healthcare organizations. So why is transformational leadership best fit for healthcare organizations? Well, this leadership model inspires confidence, respect, and communication between all members of the organization. Transformational leadership focuses on their employees and what is best for their employees, as they are the ones that typically handle things firsthand. Transformational leadership allows for those to speak freely about any ideas they may have, as well as any concerns. As a transformational leader, communicating through visions increases productivity, strengthens employee morale, as well as job satisfaction. Transformational leadership inspires employees to strive beyond what is required at work, toward a vision for all team members. This leadership allows for those with a goal or a vision to express this as a team. This is my references page, and this is the end. Thank you for listening.